If you're watching this video by the time it's been posted, it is winter time. Happy 2026, everybody. And chances are that A, it gets dark at like 2 p.m. and the temperatures are very, very cold. And B, you're therefore craving cozy and warming meals. So what's better than making a winter soup? In today's video though, we're not just making any soup, we're making 3 top, traditional, most iconic, best Italian soups. Yes, my friends, we're gonna beat and enjoy this cold season Italian style. Hello everyone, this is Barbs, and I don't think there's really much else to say in addition to this intro. All the soups that we're gonna prepare together today are all-time Italian classics. I'm sure you've heard of them before. You might have even made them before yourself. But I would bring these 3 specifically to you because I'm hoping we can add the little fun fact element, that little authentic behind-the-scenes element, so that these all-time classics may turn into your all-time favorites. So without further ado, let's get rolling. Il minestrone, or minestrone di verdure, is probably one of the most ancient Italian soups, not to mention one of the most popular outside of Italy as well. I read that traces of what could have been kale, raw beans, and legumes were found in pottery from the Etruscan period. And greens and legumes are basically what minestrone is made of. Also, another piece of evidence of its ancient origins is the word minestrone itself, because it comes from the Latin minestrare, which means to serve. Today, I'm using onions, carrots, cauliflower, potatoes, butternut squash, chard, tomatoes, zucchini, celery, beans, and peas. But there isn't actually such a thing as one minestrone recipe, because it used to be a peasant dish made with whatever people could literally find and afford. Basically, any greens or vegetables and any kind of legumes can be used as an ingredient. It's really up to you and your likings. We start by cutting our vegetables into relatively small pieces, which is such a tedious process. Well, at least it is for me. I hate cutting things. I promise you though, this is basically the only step that requires some sort of effort. Also, I don't plan on using all of these vegetables. I'll just cut some and then wing it as I go. It really depends on the size of the pot you're using to cook your vegetables, and ultimately it depends on which flavor you would like to be more predominant. Advice is don't go too heavy on potatoes because you don't want your minestrone to be too starchy, and don't overdo it with tomatoes either because you don't want it to get too acidic. This is so not the right knife for the job, and I am setting this aside on a separate plate. So now that I've basically cried my eyes out, and now that my vegetables are all nice and ready to go, I drizzle some olive oil in my pot of choice and I place it over low heat. To make sure all the vegetable flavors really come out, we first make a little base with carrots, celery, and onions, which we call soffritto. We lightly brown them, and then we saute the rest of the vegetables together, aside from the tomatoes. After a few minutes, we fill our pot with water, add in our tomatoes. I also add my beans and peas. I bought frozen ones, so I skipped the sauteing step. Then we wait till it comes to a simmer. Add a generous amount of salt, put a lid on. When it comes to minestrone, the longer you let it simmer, the better. I'd say for anywhere from a minimum of 2 hours up to Well, there's really no limit. Just make sure your water doesn't evaporate completely. I think I'm gonna leave mine cooking for around 3 hours, maybe. Well, anyways, these types of recipes where you just put a pan on the stove and basically forget about it are my absolute favorite. However, at the grocery store, we also do have plenty of pre-made options for when we are more on the go and we don't really have this much time. You can actually tell how much of a staple minestrone is in our winter diet just by looking at how many pre-prepared options you can find. The frozen ones, which only need about 15 to 20 minutes of cooking, are the only ones that my parents ever used to buy. Actually, growing up, I genuinely thought that that was the only way people would make minestrone at home. Until then, I moved out and met one of my housemates' mom who would come over and make minestrone for all of us girls from scratch using this recipe that you just saw. And I was mind blown. Anyway, the reason why we had to cut our vegetables with a little bit of care is that we're not gonna blend our soup. Unlike il passato di verdure, the main feature of il minestrone di verdure is that you can actually see the pieces of vegetables and the legumes. So the smaller you cut them, the easier it is to eat. To give the minestrone soup a little more cohesive and silky texture, you can either cook some pasta in it or cook some rice in it, which is super typical in the Lombardia region, for example. Or you can borrow my tip, which to me is an absolute game changer. Yes, you guys, Parmigiano or Grana Padano cheese rhymes. Trust me, you will never go back. Some people call it minestra or even minestrina. Some others call it pastina. However, there are two things about this second recipe that all Italians definitely agree on. Number one, this is what our grandparents used to have for dinner every single day, especially during winter. Una minestrina e a letto. Number two, this is what our parents would make for us when we were sick or we were feeling a little under the weather. Una minestrina e a letto. In no way, this is the Italian equivalent of chicken soup for other countries, except it might not look like your typical soup, and it's probably the quickest and easiest one to make. If the word minestra makes you think of a lighter, more relaxed version of minestrone, the word pastina gives you a very, very clear idea of what it is. It's a tiny pasta shape, either regular pasta or fresh egg pasta. I'm sure Editing Barbs is overlaying all the many options you can find in the grocery store right now. Cooked and served directly in meat broth or vegetable broth. So technically, yes, I mean, if you make the broth from scratch, it can turn into a very, very long recipe, but it's safe to say that almost 99% of people use pre-made broth to make minestra. The whole point of this dish is to be quick and comforting and warm you up from the cold in almost no time. In my family, we've always used vegetable broth because it's a little more delicate in flavor. And actually, rather than liquid broth bricks, we've always bought either granulated bouillon or bouillon cubes. I hope I'm not making this up, but I think the reason is that liquid broth bricks weren't really a thing when I was little. They weren't actually easy to find at all. Am I making this up? I don't know. But anyways, so as per tradition, bouillon cube it is. For me, when it comes to pastina, it has to be stelline. I don't know if you can tell from the camera, but look at how tiny they are. So nostalgic and super cute. Even though a standard serving for your regular pasta is about 100 grams per person, you want to keep it lower in minestra. So let's say 50, 60 grams per person will do. Also, be very careful when you throw it in the pot because the broth can react pretty aggressively. So lower the heat to a simmer and gently pour it in. Stir it every now and then and cook it according to the cooking time on the box, which for my stelline is only 6 minutes. Told you it was a quick one. Last but not least, this is what really seals the deal. soup, I wanted to pick a regional specialty. And since I'm from Veneto, I just had to go with pasta e fagioli. Pasta e fagioli is actually Venetian dialect. I'm sure most of you know this soup as pasta e fagioli, or as Dean Martin says, pasta e fagioli. It's kind of crazy to think that even though it's become such a popular dish, very few people know what the Venetian version is like. Pasta e fagioli is made in many regions of central Italy as well, but it's especially iconic in Veneto. Am I trying to say that the version we make here is better than the others? No, of course not. All I'm saying is that one time I had pasta e fagioli in Rome and I wanted to cry. Jokes aside, I thought it would be a good idea to dive into a more regional cuisine because it's such a fun area to explore. Italian food is so diverse and there are so many other traditional soups that are definitely worth trying. I'll leave you a link to a very interesting chart on the Taste Atlas website in case you want to dive even deeper and try out other regional specialties too. Just like minestrone, the pasta e fagioli recipe isn't rigid at all. It actually changes a lot depending on the area. And ultimately, I'd say every family customizes its own version. In my household, my dad's cousin is the real master, so I am following her guidelines for this one. The beans I'm using are fagioli borlotti di lamont, which come from the area around the city of Belluno. These need to be soaked in water for at least 12 hours. After that, you carefully rinse them and cook them with bay leaves and salt for, I'd say, about 2 hours. So next, we remove the bay leaves and we transfer the excess cooking water into a bowl. Next up, let me move you closer first. This anyway better. In a separate pot, we make a little soffritto. So we drizzle some olive oil and we put our celery, carrots, and onions. Some people also like to add a source of animal fat along with the oil, like for instance pork belly or pork rinds. We like to keep it vegetarian in my family, but I mean, feel free to experiment with flavors. Once the soffritto has a nice golden color, I pour in a couple of ladles of my bean water just to soften the vegetables a bit. Like I said, my cousin is a pro and knows exactly how to dose the liquids. So at this point, she would add the soffritto directly to the pot of beans. But since I'm no expert at all, I'm doing it the other way around. I'm turning off the heat in here, transferring the beans in here, and adjusting the water as I go. Okay, so apparently I could have done it the right way because you know, it's empty in here, so it wouldn't have. We put a lid on and we let it simmer for another hour or so. Okay, you guys, we've gotten to the hardest step of all. We need to mash everything with a foot mill. I know, using a hand blender would be so much easier, but it will also mess up the consistency and make the soup way too gooey. So unfortunately, there's no way out of this one. Perfect. This is the kind of consistency and silkiness you want to get to. At this point, we put it on low heat because since we sorted out the fagioli part, it's now time to take care of our pasta. When it comes to pasta shapes for pasta e fagioli, there are many that work very, very well. You can use maltagliati, you can use tagliatelle, or other types of fresh egg pasta, but for me, pasta e fagioli equals ditalini rigati. I only have the whole wheat version in my pantry, but honestly, the regular one would be better, but pretend I'm not saying this to you right now, okay? Let's wait for the soup to come to a gentle simmer and add in our pasta. And we can always add in more of this bean water if needed, like half a ladle or so. However, keep in mind that the perfect consistency for pasta e fagioli is when the wooden spoon can stand on its own. From now on, it's key that you keep stirring because otherwise the soup and the pasta will stick to the bottom of your pot. Let's turn off the heat Sprinkle a little bit of salt. Do you see how dense it is? Well, this, to me, is the perfect consistency. Let's add a generous shower of Parmigiano Reggiano, a good drizzle of extra virgin olive oil, and a sprig of rosemary. Put the lid on, let it rest for a few minutes, and then serve it, leaving everyone absolutely speechless. It actually needs a little salt, but it's divine. Pasta e fagioli is just something else. Well, I guess that's it for today's video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the Italian soups we made today. If you try one of the recipes, definitely leave me a comment down below because I am very curious to hear what you think. Also, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to enjoy the rest of the cold season Italian style. Thank you guys once again. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!